It's a known fact to everyone who Kaizer Chiefs does not have a defensive midfielder. Correction. They don't have a defensive midfielder who's good enough to fit istyle ska Zwane. Because if that was the case, then Unjabulo Plom would have never been moved from playing as a right back to playing as a defensive midfielder. Now that Plom is gone, we need to have an honest conversation about who actually fits that position without talking about Ama signings, because right now we know we're in the middle of the season. So we have to talk about what we have at our disposal. Hello and welcome to Kosi Nation Fan TV. I am Pelo, I am your host. This is where fans meet and talk about Kaizer Chiefs, Kosi Football Club. And as I said, we're talking about defensive midfielders. Honest conversation, episode number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think. So I've made other videos about other positions, so you can go check them out on the playlist Yama Honest Conversations. Now, the first person that comes to mind who is the natural defensive midfielder is obviously Ukol Alexander. And I know I'm going to say something that people always say, oh, age does not matter, but I will say it. Because of his age, Ukol Alexander, he does not look like he can cover as much ground as he used to cover when he was playing for Bidvest Vets. And now, when it comes to Chiefs, it's so demanding. Kanti under Gavin Hunt, it wasn't as demanding as it is with Chiefs. Now imagine this, under Gavin Hunt, they were sitting deeper than they are with Chiefs, and under Gavin Hunt, he was much younger. So now he's older, and the demand just went higher. So now unenkinga vele, and even now, I think only last week did he come back from an injury. So you can see Ukuthi Vele as a defensive midfielder, he's not a solution because it's giving him more injuries and it just doesn't cope. In the games that he has played, you can see what it doesn't cope. He can still be used though around the 78th minute, let's say Siyawin, and we're under pressure, and he can come in and help. But to start him and depend on him, it will be a great mistake. The second player is Phathutshedzo Nange, and a lot of people have talked about Uguti Nange over Cole, and I ran a poll on our community tab Uguti who is better, Nange or Maart, and a lot of people voted for Maart. But I will say Uguti Unange this season when he has played, which has been very few times, I think only 2 or 3 times, he has not really convinced me, because the main thing about Zwane or Mangete ball is this thing Uguti players need to be comfortable on the ball, and he hasn't looked like that. This is not me dismissing him, Uguti is not good enough and it doesn't fit the Chiefs. No, there could still be spaces sakhe, but again, in the season, towards the end of the games, because if you're going to start with him from the start, it does not offer you much in the team. Because if we're playing out from the back, now we need someone who's going to drop between those defenders and collect the ball and help us progress the ball upfield. Can Nange do that? No. So in a way, it's like Unange is probably past his prime. He can go to Royal and absolutely smash it, but with Chiefs it does not look like he's that player, and you can tell by the number of games that he has played, and not just by the number of games, by what he has done when he's actually been introduced to the starting 11. If you're enjoying this video, please do subscribe to the channel. Next one is Samkelo Zwane, another one that is usually judged because Samkelo Zwane with development was playing as a defensive midfielder, but we've covered this. We've discussed how Kaizer Chiefs DDC team focuses more on attacking, and that's why players who come from a development year to usually going forward, they are not that great. Take Wepi Mashiane, for example. He played as a left wing back with DDC, with 3-5-2 formation, which technically makes him a defender, right? But he's not good at all when it comes to defending. He's good going forward, but going backwards, not so much. You have Samkelo Zwane was played as a defensive midfielder with development year too, but still defensively does not look sound. But going forward, that boy has nice passes. And now the only way that boy can shine in this team is if he is given the opportunity to play alongside someone who's more defensive than him. Because when they played him alongside Maart, its defensive ability too seems to be at the same level. And because of that, it just looked like they were too weak to match with anyone. And since the Sundowns game, he's been dropped and we haven't seen much of him. I will say though, besides that goal that we considered against Sundowns where he didn't commit to a tackle, I don't think he has been bad for the Chiefs, if I'm being honest. Whenever he's played, he's been decent for the Chiefs. And I feel like after that Sundowns game, he's been dropped and it doesn't look like he's playing anytime soon because even players like Abo Matlo are being played ahead of him. Because I do feel like Zwane, even as a central midfielder or even an attacking midfielder, he can make more difference than Matlo. It's just that as a deeper lying playmaker, he seems to have more influence because he can view groundy like from the back and then he can pick passes to wherever that he wants to pick them, and he can help us build from the back as well, because lento yokuthi simqalise that further forward then it limits him, because manje it's forcing us to kick the ball forward so that we can start playing in the opponent's last third. And we saw him in the games that we had that were good for the Chiefs. He was playing deeper and was collecting the ball, and it was working for him. So I think with Zwane as well, he still needs another chance. He's still young, so I think he will get more chance to play. Guys, at 7:30 we go live every weekday, Mondays to Fridays. So please do tune in to check out those live streams. Now we move on to Yusuf Maart, one of them. I think he's the midfielder who has played more games than any other midfielder with Chiefs. I didn't check and confirm the stats. But he's the one who has played mostly. He's the one who's not being who does not get changed, which I question at times. Why does he not get subbed? It's not that he sucks. No, he does not suck. What can I say about Maart? My performances are like 6, 5, 6, 5, 6. They're not bad, but they're also not like, oh wow, mind blowing, right? I go where he plays and I'm like, oh, okay, my sweet, let's go. It's just like, oh yeah, okay, ulmagili ball, okay, he made that pass, and then Azamukshama long range shots, and then it's just like, okay, Maart, come down, So for me, he's been someone read, because for the past 2 hours I spent replying to my comments. 2 hours. And I saw someone who said Maart is overrated. I don't think Maart is overrated. I would say he's just under delivering, and it's not his fault, because look at how the team is set up. Look at the lack of abadlali in the defensive midfield role, because now he has to play as a makeshift defensive midfielder, and that limits him going forward, because if freedom yakhe is now limited, because he can't just go forward freely without the covering up Blom. Because when Blom came in and started playing as a defensive midfielder, you saw Maart improving. But after Blom left and then Maart went back to second guessing himself, should I go forward? Should I stay deep? What should I do? So I think he's just a victim of the lack of quality, or the lack of someone who's good enough to play as a defensive midfielder, which leads me to Sithebe. Sithebe is one of those players who has benefited from being benched, and that is why Zwane should not hesitate in benching other players who are underperforming, because Sithebe played and then my performances started not being convincing. He was dropped, and then when he came back against Sundowns, he's just been smashing it, in my opinion. He's been playing really well, and even dropping between our defenders, looking more and more like a defensive midfielder. Uguti, since our defenders to have been wasting ama ball, and we've been committing so many mistakes at the back, Sithebe now drops between the defenders to collect the ball and take the responsibility upon himself to play out from the back. And I think that's a tactic. It's not just Sithebe taking it upon himself, and it does it well, because even with staying between a defender when we are attacking, it also helps us. We still have 3 players at the back, yet we're giving him a full back freedom to move forward. We saw even when he moves a bit to the left, when we're playing against Marisbeck to cover Mashian was overlapping Guti, it also helps and gives him a full backs to like that freedom to go forward. And eventually it does seem like he's the one who might get trusted with that defensive midfield role. But I don't think that will happen. I think he will still just be played alongside Maart. I think they just need to trust each other, Uguti. When Maart is moving forward, Sithebe as for sure ukuthi he's staying deeper, because you don't want to leave a hole in our midfield with our defense being questionable at this time. What do you think about our midfielders? Do you think we should keep it double pivot? Do you think we should play with one defensive midfielder? And if so, who? Let me know down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you on the next video, and until next time, remember, equals alphelo moya.